The Phoenix Suns got off to one of the best starts in all of the NBA this season, and then boom, one of the worst things that could happen to an NBA team happens to the Phoenix Suns. They caught a bad case of the injury bug, and they lost some key guys, and I don't think people realize this. And I'm an NBA fan, so my algorithm on all my social media apps, it shows me constant NBA stuff, and I see a lot of Phoenix Suns slander, and especially when they lost those key guys, the internet, they like to troll the Phoenix Suns. So I saw a lot of stuff calling the Phoenix Suns trash. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. But the casual NBA fans, they don't understand things like injuries. And we look at some of the guys that missed a huge chunk of time so far this season for the Suns. We look at their backcourt, who are the two best players on this team, Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They have missed a huge chunk of time this year. Cam Johnson, who the Phoenix Suns now have back, he has missed a huge chunk of time for the Phoenix Suns this season. The backup point guard, which is a very pivotal role for the Phoenix Suns with Chris Paul aging, Cameron Payne, he has missed a lot of time this season. And also, they haven't had Jay Crowder. And I know when it comes to Jay Crowder, he's not one of the best players as far as talent, but his value and the tenacity that he brings to the game and his ability to shoot the three ball and play defense, the Phoenix Suns are missing a lot. And I think people failed to realize that this team was severely banged up. But while they were banged up, this was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because when you're missing all those players, guys are forced to step up. And the guy that I seen step out of his comfort zone the most was Mikal Bridges. Now, there's a reason that I say Mikal Bridges has stepped severely out of his comfort zone. We all knew coming into his season what his role is whenever Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Cameron Payne is playing. His main job is to lock up the opposing team's best player, and then on the offensive side of the ball, he's going to knock down his wide open spot up threes, and he's going to be an effective cutter and finish great around the rim. Those three things right there, Mikal Bridges do a great job at. But then the Phoenix Suns, they get hit with the injury bug, and I just think it's crazy that the injury bug hits all of their playmakers. It hits Cameron Payne, it hits Chris Paul, and it hits Devin Booker, and those are the Phoenix Suns. Those are their primary ball handlers right there. So when those three guys went down, someone had to step up and run the offense, and Monty Williams, he went with Mikal Bridges, and I think this is going to help the Phoenix Suns out in so many ways. But back to what Mikal Bridges has been doing whenever Chris Paul hasn't played, or whenever Devin Booker hasn't played, or Cam Payne, he stepped up his offensive game tremendously. We look at his stats when those guys are out. He's putting up almost 20 points per game. He's putting up 5 assists, and he's grabbing 4 rebounds. And I think those are some pretty solid numbers. And with him playing aggressively on the offensive side of the ball, it has helped the Phoenix Suns win some challenging games while they're missing their best players. And I remember last season when the Phoenix Suns was just dominating the rest of the NBA, and everyone was talking about the Phoenix Suns. And I remember reading articles, and one article was about Mikal Bridges, and they were asking a question if he could ever take his offensive game to the next level and become a player that can create for himself and create for others. And I think what's transpired for him in the Phoenix Suns this season is a step in the right direction in that aspect, because whenever Chris Paul is out, or whenever D-Book has been out, or both of those guys have been out for the Suns, Mikal Bridges has looked very comfortable with the basketball in his hands. He's been operating the pick and roll. His assist numbers are up, and he's still able to create for himself with the basketball in his hands. His mid-range pull-up is becoming elite. It's very lethal. Mikal Bridges, he has a lot of length on his arm, so it's very hard to get a contest on any jump shot he takes, and he's also still finishing very strong at the rim. And another thing that I love is that he's kind of like the guy that puts that key in DeAndre Ayton's back. And if you watch the Phoenix Suns and interviews, and you watch them before the game, I believe DeAndre Ayton, he has the strongest bond with Mikal Bridges on his team, and I just always see Mikal feeding him the ball. But nonetheless, I'm not saying that Mikal Bridges, he's there yet as a player that can do that consistently, but I think this year was a huge step for him, and I think it's very important for the Phoenix Suns because, and this is why I say it was a blessing in disguise, because now when you have Chris Paul and you have D-Book back, the two best perimeter defenders are going to be on those two guys. And their most previous game against the Brooklyn Nets is the perfect example. We saw the Phoenix Suns almost fully healthy. I believe the only guy part of the rotation that they are missing is Jay Crowder and Cameron Payne, but Jay Crowder has not been a part of the Phoenix Suns this entire season. But nonetheless, we seen Chris Paul, we seen D-Book, DeAndre Ayton is out there. So those are three guys that are going to be getting a lot of attention that are not Mikal Bridges. But with Mikal Bridges playing the role that he was playing while D-Book was out, while Chris Paul was out, and now he's having the third or fourth best perimeter defender guarding him, he's going to be seeing a lot of easy buckets, and that's what we saw against the Brooklyn Nets last night. Mikal Bridges, he finished with 21 points, and he shot 8 of 18 from the field, and he also grabbed 8 rebounds. And this right here is why I'm saying that, yeah, these injuries suck, and the Phoenix Suns, they took a huge drop. I believe at one point in the season, they were #1 in the Western Conference, and then that injury bug hit, and now they have a lot of work to do. But the Phoenix Suns, I still believe they have one of the best starting fives in the NBA. They still have some very valuable role players, but the starting five of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and DeAndre Ayton is definitely going to make some noise. And speaking of DeAndre Ayton, he's another guy that stepped up while those two guys are out. And when you missing Chris Paul and Devin Booker, you're not just missing playmaking, you're not just missing guys getting assists, but you're also missing guys scoring the basketball. So DeAndre Ayton, he was getting fed a lot during this time period. And DeAndre Ayton, he could be a little bit frustrating sometimes, not because he plays bad, but sometimes he plays unfocused. And you watch him play, and when you watch him play a game where he's focused, like last night, he had 35 points and he had 18 rebounds and he shot 14 of 18, and he's playing against one of the best defensive centers in the league, Nick Claxton. So it's just games where some games he comes out and it seems like he's not really interested. So I think if the Phoenix Suns can keep DeAndre Ayton focused, they're definitely going to still be making some noise in the Western Conference. And nobody has established themselves as the dominant front runners in the West like we see in the Eastern Conference with the Boston Celtics. I think the West right now is still wide open, and the Phoenix Suns, they can definitely make some noise throughout the playoffs. Working on getting Devin Booker back into his rhythm, and you guys know how I feel about D-Book. I genuinely enjoy watching him play the game of basketball because he makes it look like an art form. He's so smooth. His footwork is elite. He's a shooting guard, but he knows how to play in the post. He has all the post moves in the book. And also, I love the elevation that Devin Booker gets on his jump shots and on his pull-up jumpers. It just seems like he's in the air forever and ever, and then he lets go of that shot. But offensively, he can do just about everything. One of the best scorers in the league. But right now, it's all about health for the Phoenix Suns. The Western Conference is wide open. It's all about who's going to be able to stay healthy and who's going to be able to stay consistent down the stretch. But that's going to be it for this day, for today's video. Just wanted to talk about how those injuries were a blessing in disguise for the Phoenix Suns, because now they can exploit matchups with Mikal Bridges. But if you guys enjoyed, drop a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.